Welcome in, everybody. This is your self-care staffing for Thursday, May 7th, 2020. I am Lou Pascal. I'm the school social worker in the Manchester City Schools in Manchester, Tennessee. Today is one of those days where I feel like I'm behind for whatever reason, and I have a million things I want to accomplish, and also there seems like there's a lot coming at me today. Good things, really good things. Things that I want to watch or read, or just really interesting, a lot of interesting things that I want to partake in, and there's just not enough hours in the day today. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not 100% sure that I have the exact wording to say what I want to say in this video. I don't have it laid out in a succinct way with all kinds of eloquent phrasing. Maybe it'll come to me as I'm talking. I started off thinking about this video in terms of motivation. How do we get ourselves motivated? How do we stay inspired? How do we stay encouraged? But I'm not sure that that covers everything that I want to discuss today. And as I continued to think, some more concepts were, what's the spark, or what are the inputs that you have in your life, and being purposeful about being sure that you encounter those things. I did come across a couple of concepts that I think will maybe better encompass what I'm trying to say today. Some of you that follow me on Facebook, you may have seen that I posted a video earlier this week with a lady that was talking about the concept of resourcing yourself. And I think that's really wonderful. And that probably gets really close to what I'm trying to say. So resource yourself. Another way that I've heard it discussed over the years is as sharpening the saw. So I want to start by saying, I feel like, I truly believe every single person that is watching this, you have a gift, you have a talent to share with the world. Whatever that thing is, you do that thing the way that no one else does it. I truly believe that. I've heard authors talk over the years and think maybe they didn't have a book in them because whatever their topic was had already been discussed. And the encouragement that I've heard about that is we always need new books on those same things that have been discussed before, because no one can say it the way that you can say it. No one has said it yet in the words that you would use to say that thing. In social work, we have a concept in our code of ethics called the professional use of self. So a lot of you in your profession or in what you do with your life have this concept of the use of self. And that means that you are the instrument. You are the instrument. Your brain, your words, the way you use your hands if you are in a trade, you are the instrument. And so that can apply to so many things. If you are obviously social work is my world, so that's where I start, school social work. If you are a teacher, this applies to you. If you are a spiritual leader, this applies to you. If you are a parent or a spouse or any sort of family member, this applies to you. If you are, again, a person in a trade or a person who does some sort of craft that you supply to the world. There are so many people in so many professions that if you look at it and think about it, you are the instrument, and what you bring to that task, to that job, no one can come to it the way that you do, with your unique experience and your unique thought patterns. worlds. So, my encouragement to you today is that you have to be sharpening your saw. You have to be honing your instrument, whatever that is. And I really liked what that lady said about resource yourself. So when I'm thinking about resource yourself, that could be, how do you calm yourself? That could be, how do you replenish yourself when you're depleted so that you can go back out into the world and continue to do that thing that only you can do in the way that you do it. It could be how you build knowledge or how you refine your knowledge of that thing you do. And I really truly think that everyone contributes something to the world. Every single person. It could be a conversation that someone needed to have, that you were the only person who could say that thing that would stop someone in their tracks and help them think of something different, or help them have a breakthrough, or comfort them. That is so incredibly valuable, and I would say priceless. It takes resourcing yourself to have that, to contribute when the moment comes. So, I want to talk about resourcing yourself and sharpening your saw as a part of self-care. So, there can be any number of ways of doing that. Some of the ones that are top of mind for me would be reading, listening to something, watching something, conversations that you could have with people, with a mentor, just with someone who has been where you've been before. There can be any number of ways to resource yourself and to sharpen your saw. I think my encouragement today is for you to be purposeful about doing that, for you to seek out those sources, for you to kind of have it on your radar that that is something you need in your life, and you're on the alert for sources, whether it be through any type of media, whether it be through getting to know someone better. Finding those inputs and surrounding yourself with them to the biggest extent possible. And one of the reasons that I encourage you to surround yourself with that kind of thing is because you never know what combination of inputs is going to bring you to a new idea. So I'm going to give you an example. When I started as a school social worker, I started late in the year, and we have to do in-service hours. The particular school system that I was with at the time, we had to do in-service hours after work. And I had probably 6 weeks to get 12 hours of in-service. And also just needing in-service opportunities over all the years that I've been in school social work. I've attended a lot of sessions that had nothing to do with school social work. Nothing. I'm very interested in technology. I've done a lot of technology sessions, which that does have to do with school social work, but it was being taught more from a teacher perspective. Okay. So I had to keep my mind open to the possibility. So I'm going to learn about this thing from this one person's certain perspective, but how can I take that and apply it to what I do? So I learned about 2 different things, and I was able to put them together, and I use them to this day. So at one of the sessions that I went to, they talked about this website called Porta-Portal, and it's exactly what it sounds like. They named it what they named it for the exact reason that you think they did. It's called Porta-Portal, and it's basically a listing website, and you can break things into categories. And so I saw a presentation on that, and it was from a teacher perspective, And so what that would have been like is a teacher who, let's say, taught history. So her portal or his portal might have been broken into categories of, for example, here's some resources about history of civil rights. Here's some resources about the history of the Civil War. Here's some resources about the history of Indigenous, Native American, First Nations. Here's some resources about that history. So it might have been broken up like that. And you could list things that linked to a website, and then you could also do a little comment down below to kind of give a little description of what it was. So that was the first one, portal. So I went to that and kind of just filed that away in my memory. Then I went to another session that was about QR codes. So if you guys have ever seen the little black and white box, it looks like a barcode, but not quite. It's a bunch of little black and white boxes. And it is something that you can, usually with your there used to be QR code readers, but now it'll do it with your camera on your phone. You can just let your camera on your phone see that QR code and it takes you to a website. So it's linked to a website. So you don't have to go in and type this long website. You don't have to try to remember a website that somebody gave you. You don't have to try to type it in exactly from some handout where you can't really link. Just scan this QR code and you go to the website. Okay? So did a session on that. Filed that back in my memory bank. That could be used for any number of things. You guys have all, I'm sure, seen QR codes for many, many different purposes. So here's how all that came together in my mind. As a school social worker, for years and years and years and years and years, we had just file drawers full of all these different community resources. So we might have a flyer on what the agency did, and we might also have a brochure, and we might also have an application. We had all these things. But when we weren't in the office, so anytime after an office hours, we weren't in the office, it was a paper in a file drawer. Nobody could access it. If we were on summer break, nobody could access it. So it's just sitting in this drawer, not necessarily being able to help anyone. So I started to want to go paperless, number one, because I was in a small office and nobody was offering me a bigger one. Wasn't going to get a bigger office. So I needed to maximize my space, number one. So I was trying to go paperless. And then I remembered about Portal, and I thought, oh, I could do a portal for community resources. So that's what I did. So my portal would have things about camps. Camps are huge. We're always trying to recommend camps for our families when we go on summer break. So camps were huge. Holiday assistance was huge. Food resources, housing resources, counseling resources. So I could break my portal into all of those categories. And I could put all the agencies up there that I knew assisted in that way. And I could also, if agencies did 4 or 5 different things, I could put them in every category where they provided assistance. And I could link to their website, and I could say, for more information, call this phone number. So I did that. So that was the portal. So that was something that people could access 24/7. School counselors could access it. Parents could access it. If they had that link, it didn't mean that they shouldn't call me as their school social worker. It just meant if all you need is to know who does this, then here it is. And people could have it. And they didn't have to wait on me. So we did the portal. And then in order to make it easily shareable, we linked it to a QR code so that people didn't have to even have the link. They just had to have the QR code. And then I figured out how to put the QR code on the back of my business card. So if I handed my business card to somebody, there was a QR code, and it just said, here are a list of resources that may be helpful to you. So that is an example of something that or a couple of different things that I was exposed to that it wasn't like somebody said, oh, Lou, please come to this session about school social work and it's going to be all about exactly what you do. No, it wasn't that. It was me being able to keep an open mind and go to something that probably didn't apply to me and figure out how I could integrate that into something that I needed to do. So that's an example of resourcing yourself, sharpening your saw. So, and I've said many times on these videos that I'm a lifelong learner. That charges me up to learn different things. So I'm always interested in learning opportunities, and that is even more inspiring to me when I can not only learn something, but I can find out a unique way that I can take something that was not related to what I was doing at all and find a way to implement it and help move our big picture vision forward. So that's an example. So if you take this position that you are going to resource yourself, you're going to sharpen your saw, you're always going to be kind of scanning your environment for things that can help you in that way. You're surrounding yourself with people, and I'm going to use the word motivate, probably. That doesn't completely capture it, but you're surrounding yourself with people who can motivate you, surrounding yourself with things that can resource you. Now, you may be in a situation where you don't have that. It is not unheard of to be in a situation where you don't have anybody that encourages you in your workplace. You don't have those kinds of relationships. You don't have anybody in your family life that encourages you. That is not unheard of. And you also don't want to have the people that are around you just say, oh, that's amazing, to anything you come up with. No, these need to be people with discernment and people with wisdom who will tell you, I'm 100% for you, but I'm a little bit concerned about this aspect of your plan. So these are not people that are just going to say everything you think of is just the most wonderful thing they've ever heard. You don't want that. That's not helpful to you if it's really not a good idea. If you're pursuing a foolish path, then you want someone who can say something to you that's going to impact you and make you reevaluate. If you are in a situation where you feel like no one that you know personally can be supportive or can motivate you, you can find those sources. We have access to more information right now than I think we have ever had in the history of humanity. You can find those sources. It's a little bit of a hunt, and you have to be purposeful about it, but you can do it. So, I'm going to give you a series of self-care check-in questions today. So who in your life can resource you? Who in your life can help you sharpen your saw? Who in your life can encourage you and motivate you? Can you do some of that for yourself? Who are the people that you know can help you do that? If your motivator is not someone that you know personally, how can you schedule time to expose yourself to that person's content? And lastly, this is not a one-way street. Who can you resource? Who can you help sharpen their sword? Okay? That is 100% a part of what you can give back to the world. It's not all about feeding yourself. It's also about taking what has been poured into you and turning around and using that to encourage other people. Okay? So I'm going to answer those because I always try to answer these questions. For me personally, I am able to motivate myself, but I also find a lot of encouragement and resource and sharpening my saw from other people. I've seen some things written about how, maybe we don't need to use the word mentor and we don't need to try to set up formal mentor arrangements, and maybe we do, maybe we don't, I don't know. But I would definitely use the word mentor. I've got several people in my life who mentor me and tell me when I'm on the right track, or that I can go to when I think I'm in a situation that I am just at a loss. So I have both. And some of those people are real life people that I know. Some of those people are authors. Some of those people are people on Twitter, in my professional learning network, professional learning community. If you're a school person, you have definitely heard the term PLC. If you are in Twitter chats, and this is not just a school thing, I know this goes on across professions, but there are a lot of ways to access things that can help you with that next great idea. So I am able to motivate myself, but I also get a ton of that content from other people. Those of you who've been watching from the beginning, you know that I began this series because I saw what other school people were doing in response to the closures. And they were not there. I take that back. There was one lady that was a school social worker that started doing something like this. And I saw what she was doing and I thought, well, what could I do? But there was also teachers, all kinds of teachers, science teachers. There was a PE instructor that were just taking their knowledge, and because they weren't in their regular normal setting of the school, they were finding ways to still deliver content to students in really unique ways, fashions, methods. So that's how this video series started, is that I saw other people doing that kind of thing, and it made me ask myself, well, what can I contribute? What do I have that I could share that might be helpful to people during the school closures due to COVID-19? So that's the whole beginning of this video series. So in terms of who I can motivate, in social work and in school social work, internships are a huge part of our training. We also have various assignments that happen where we need to, as students, contact professionals in the field and get them to answer some questions and give us some knowledge. So when social work students approach me with questions, I try to always answer those. Over the years, my family has known several people that wanted to go into social work. I've had friends that wanted to go into social work, and when they have questions, I try to be available and answer all those questions to the biggest extent possible, whether that's getting on the phone with them or going to coffee, or just send me a list of questions and I'll email you a response. I try to do all of those things. And when I'm approached about having school social work interns, if it's at all possible, I try to take interns and give them that experience so that they can go on to the next step of their education, and then they can enter the profession also. So those are some ways that I try to pour into other people. So what I'm going to leave with you today, somehow I don't have a quote today, but I think I've talked long enough that you guys have gotten the idea and hopefully have been motivated, inspired, whatever, by this, to try to figure out what are those things that you need to try to get more of in your life. The song, this is not a song about motivation. It's kind of a dark song, actually, if you know the story behind the song. But the song is In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If that drum solo does not get you hyped, I don't know what to tell you. That drum solo fires me up every time I hear it. So that is the motivational, not motivational song for the day. In the Air by Phil Collins. I'm going to link that. The video that I want to link to you today, this is one person that I have been watching a lot of their content lately. And again, take what you like, leave the rest. Just because I mention a person's name to you does not mean that I endorse every single thing that that person ever said or did. This person may have done some things that were not cool. I don't know. I don't know their whole life history. I just know some of the things that I've seen lately that have been helpful. And so that's what I'm sharing with you today. When we talked about a few minutes ago, you might be in a situation where you don't have anybody in your life that can encourage you or support you. This is a person that feels like that was an experience that he had. So the person I'm talking about is Steve Harvey. He's very well known. He has books. He has Steve Harvey Morning Show. He's the host of Family Feud. He has a daytime talk show. He's prolific. But he was a comedian. He is a comedian, and he did stand-up comedy for years and years and years. And if you watch any number of his videos, I'm not sure he mentions it in this one that I'm going to give you, but in his other videos, he talks about when he decided to go into stand-up comedy, that nobody in his life thought that was a good idea. And in fact, I thought I didn't have a quote, but I do have a quote. He says, if you want to kill a big idea, tell it to someone with a small mind. Okay? So once you get all this inspiration, that's a pro tip for you. You might need to be careful about who you share that with in conversation. Okay? Just think about that. Try to have a little discernment about that, because you might get a lot of discouragement about something that may very well be one of the best things that you could ever do. So, Steve Harvey says that when he decided to go into stand-up comedy, nobody thought he should do it. And he would probably be the first to tell you, I don't speak for him obviously, but he'd probably be the first to tell you, and he says in some of his videos that some bad things came from that. Some bad things came from that. He was homeless for 3 years. He had a lot of family disruption because of that. On the other hand, or maybe not on the other hand, at the same time, it's true that he is now wildly successful. So, and there were probably some people that had some wisdom that saw that the way that he was approaching it was maybe not the best way. However, he had this dream, this vision, and he believed in it, and he signed on to it 100%. So, he is an example of a person who had some inspiration, some motivation, but couldn't find a lot of external support for that. So I say all that to say, if you find yourself in that situation, all is not lost. All is not lost. You can find it other places. As my brother says, let not your heart be troubled. So the video that I want to give to you is Steve Harvey, and the title of the video is You Are a Blue Chip Stock. You are a blue chip stock. And I had to look a long time, y'all, to find a video where he didn't cuss, because he cusses a lot. But I found one because I like to keep it clean for y'all. But he just, for whatever reason, what he is saying is hitting me in a way that's helping me get hyped in this particular moment in my life. So, You Are a Blue Chip Stock is very encouraging. It can help you with some affirmations. Hopefully that is something that will resource you today and help you sharpen your saw. And I don't know Again, I feel like this is not as refined as what I usually try to present to y'all, and I'm kind of having trouble getting it into a real succinct format, but hopefully this has been helpful. And maybe y'all are picking up what I'm laying down and feeling what I'm saying. If you would like to continue to know what is going on with these videos and the content that I am developing, I would ask you to please subscribe on YouTube. So you can just hit that subscribe button and you should be able to stay in the loop with what is happening with the self-care content that I am doing. So if all hearts and minds are clear, again, I am very appreciative that you take the time to watch these videos. I know we've had some long ones this week, including today's, and it might have been a little bit of a ramble, but hopefully we got the wind up and the pitch and came to a good conclusion. So I'm very appreciative of your time, and if all hearts and minds are clear, I will see you all back here tomorrow for another self-care staffing.